first with that. John, you just got off the practice field out there, out at mandatory minicamp. So this will be the last time we interact with the Texans until training camp comes July the 25th. So we're about 6 weeks away thereabouts from training camp. What were your, final observations here on this, not just today's minicamp, but this early preseason portion of the Texans calendar?
Well, I want to point out on sportsradio610.com, I have a column on the grades for the offseason programs for C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr., their top two picks. I gave them A's. I'm very lenient. That's on the website. And Stroud threw an interception today. Then he came back through a touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. And D'Amico Ryans was asked about his resolve. I asked D'Amico, what are you looking for him when he comes back from camp, and what does he have to do to impress you enough to be named the starter? And then he started talking about players at every position. It's so interesting. D'Amico will praise the heck out of Will Anderson, but be very, very careful with C.J. Stroud. And I guess it's because they don't want to place any more pressure under Stroud than he's under. Also, I was watching Laramie Tunsil. It amazes me. You know, he misses his entire offseason program, comes in for the mini camp, doesn't skip a beat. You know, he's not sucking eggs over on the side. So he's been working out like crazy, and that's good because he's their best player. He knows he can come in, step right in at left tackle, and start and play great as a pass protector. Yeah. So I was watching some of those guys, or players like Kenyon Green wasn't out, running with the ones Michael Dieter, who's a tackle and guard. So he was first team at left guard next to Laramie Tunsil. And then they still have Quisenberry at center, and of course Shaq Mason and Titus Howard at right tackle. But the most important position group for this team besides quarterbacks is the offensive line. Because if the offensive line isn't better with its fourth coach in 4 years, then they're just spinning their wheels with a rookie quarterback. It has to show significant improvement, Sean.
John, I agree with everything you just said about the offensive line. It's where they've invested the most in terms of draft capital, in terms of money, as you pointed out with Laramie Tunsil, and it can be the best friend to a rookie quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback who doesn't have a ton of game breakers at the skill positions, at least. I mean, they solidified it somewhat, but I think if you look at their group of skill guys compared to those around the league, the Texans are definitely in the lower half of that if you take all the skill positions and add them together. I guess the other thing that I saw people marveling at, I wasn't able to be out there, obviously, because I was on the air, but you were out there. It seems like at least physically there's been somewhat of a transformation with Derek Stingley Jr. in the offseason. Is that accurate to say? Apparently he looks great.
He looks great. He looked great last year, but he spent so much time out at this time recovering from a foot injury. They babied him to start at camp. He made a great play on a deep ball today, man coverage down the right sideline. He looks stocky. Yeah. He looks like that he's ready to stop the run. You know, he's a lot stockier than Jalen Petrie. Even though they're weight. And I've asked them, please give us accurate weights when training camp starts, because they still got the weights from college. And I want to know when guys have hit the weight program, what do they weigh? Yeah. They've worked their butts off. Let's see how many pounds they've gained on the weight program. And Stingley, you can tell, has spent a lot of time working in that weight room, and that's good because he's going to get to play for the reason he was drafted, which is to cover receivers one-on-one.
All right, John, let's shift gears. You were also on the Zoom call yesterday with J.J. Watt, as we talked about on the previous episode of the Houtopia Football Podcast. And we appreciate everybody clicking that subscribe button, downloading the Audacy app. If you have the Audacy app, that can certainly be your avenue to get this podcast. Easy to search on it and make sure that you get it each and every day, or wherever it is you get your podcasts, Apple, whatever it is, we're there for you. Really cool, I thought, John, to see this whole thing's been cool, I think, this week with J.J. Watt, watching him kind of reconnect with the team, reconnect with the city. He's at another city, the team that he's been playing for the last couple of years. So I don't blame J.J. that it's felt like there's been a disconnect. But I do think that even at the end when he was still here, it felt like this whole franchise had a big disconnect going with Jack Easterby in the building. This has been, maybe for Texans, maybe healing is too strong a word, because I don't think the relationship with J.J. Watt was ever broken. But I just think it's cool to see JJ tweeting out himself in Texans gear again. That, as a fan, I think that's really cool. That moves me as a fan.
I believe this was always going to be the situation because, he was busy trying to prove himself in another city. This was the first time we got to talk to him since he got his release from the McNair family and signed with Arizona. And there were a lot of things asked of him that was very, very interesting. Matt Burke, the new defensive coordinator, was his line coach last year. I asked him about Matt, and of course he thinks Matt's great. Watt said he'd be coming over here. Soccer team he owns a piece of has. I think it's a coach who wants to come over and sit in on some Texans meetings. And he asked Matt Burke if he could do it. He said, sure. So he's going to be around. It's not just going to be a one-shot deal for when they put him in the Ring of Honor. And he was terrific. I think he won't admit this, but he said the first year of retirement, he doesn't want to work full time. It's all about his family. Mm-hmm. But he's going to have an announcement soon about something he's going to be doing part time. It's got to be TV.
Yeah.
The networks, I'll guarantee you, they were lined up to try to get him. I'm guessing we're going to see JJ in some studio role for the NFL. Some people ask about college. He's not familiar enough with college, but he is the NFL. And so I think it'll be great to see him there and then to see what he does afterward. He said if he could make a difference being part of an ownership group, he'd be interested in that. And don't know if he would ever be part of one. He certainly couldn't put anywhere near the kind of money in it would take. But like Tom Brady, he's putting in some money with the Raiders. Never know. Maybe JJ will be a minor partner in the Texans. But it was great to have him on again. He was outstanding. And when I was listening to him, I'm thinking, I'll bet you that the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, and the next mayor of Houston after Sylvester Turner, they're so glad J.J. Watt doesn't want to go into politics in Texas.
You think? Yeah. He's
Sean, one of the things, and this is his popularity.
Yeah.
And I watched all those Hard Knocks in season because I wanted to see him and DeAndre Hopkins. Mm-hmm. So I got to see a lot of Matt Burke. But the last game, they were on the road at Santa Clara, 49ers, sellout crowd. And at the end of the game, when he came off the field and the fans stood and gave him a standing ovation, it wasn't just for a minute or two, and they started chanting his name, J.J. Watt. This is in the ops. He'd been in that division 2 years. And D'Amico's on the other sideline, and the coaches over there, including D'Amico, they're clapping for him. It was just an unbelievable thing. And I asked him about it, and he said he'll never experience anything like that again because it's the end of his playing career. But I'll guarantee you, when his name goes up in the rafters in the Ring of Honor, it's going to be real close.
Yeah, it's going to be something else. October the 1st, week 4. And I guess Cal and Hannah revealed that it was JJ that picked that date. Of October.
Tough date to pick, right?
Yeah, right. No, logically so. I mean, you and I, the day the schedule came out, well, actually, you and I were calling the Pittsburgh thing back when JJ retired, I think, is when we were calling it because we knew who the opponents were going to be this year. We just didn't know when they'd be playing them. But Pittsburgh and Arizona, both as home games, I think it was, you could give me those two, and I'll give you the other 7 home games, and I'll feel pretty good that I was going to get that one right with either his brother's team or the team he just finished up playing for. So should be a lot of fun. Should be a packed stadium one way or the other, right? Steeler fans travel. And I'd imagine Steeler fans have the same level of respect for J.J. Watt that those Niner fans do.
You just hope that Texans fans don't sell their seats to Steelers fans because they travel great and have so many in the Houston area. And even if they are Steeler fans, I guarantee you they'll be standing and clapping for J.J. Watt.
For sure. I mean, I really think this ceremony is invasion proof, I'll call it, right? I think Steeler fans, if you're going to ask for an opposing fan base, honestly, if you could pick one opposing fan base that has to be a big part attendance wise of a JJ Watt ceremony, I think the Steelers fan base is probably, given TJ being on their team and given just, I think, the perception of Steeler fans being respectful football fans that respect the history of the game. I think Steeler fans would be at the top of that draft.
A lot of those Steeler fans were fans of the Steelers when they played at AFC Central, and had that told. A lot of the former Steelers at the Hall of Fame have told me it wasn't the Raiders that was their biggest rival. It wasn't the Raiders that was the most physical. The Oilers were the biggest rivals, and the Oiler games were the most physical. So a lot of those fans respected the Oilers, and so I think that'll make it. And there couldn't be a better fan base to be here for that, including the Titans.
Yeah.
It would be better for the Steelers. It's all working out perfectly. And the fact it's early in the season means the Texans might look decent.
Yeah. They might be 2-1 going into that game, something like that. You don't know, right? I mean, two of the games are Indianapolis and Jacksonville. I mean, it's I know Jacksonville is going to be better this year, but I'm not ready to crown them. The opening game at Baltimore, well, I'll save that because we got a mailbag question that we might end up talking about that game. All right, before we get to the